The hallway smelled like fresh paint and old dreams. Bright lights hung above, too sharp for young eyes that had cried too many nights in silence. The sound of footsteps echoed against the floor, mixed with nervous breaths, whispered prayers, and hearts beating faster than they ever had before. Somewhere behind the curtain, an audience waited. But behind the curtain were children who had waited their whole lives. Ava Thompson stood still, holding a microphone that felt colder than her hands. She was 15, thin, quiet, the kind of girl teachers described as sweet but invisible. She wore a simple dress her mother had stitched late at night after coming home from work. Every stitch carried hope. Ava grew up in a small town in Texas where dreams didn't travel far. People worked, rested, and repeated. Music was something you listened to on the radio, not something you chased. But Ava chased it anyway. She had learned early how to be quiet. Her father's temper filled the house more than laughter ever did. When he left, the silence felt safer, but heavier. Her mother worked longer hours. Ava learned to cook, clean, and pretend everything was okay. At night, when the house finally rested, Ava sang. Softly, she sang into the darkness, afraid her voice might wake the pain again. Singing was the only place where she felt brave. The only place where she didn't feel small. People at school didn't understand. Why do you sing like you're sad? They asked. Ava never answered. Because how do you explain that sadness was the only thing that ever listened? Miles away, in a crowded neighborhood of Chicago, lived a boy named Marcus Reed. Marcus was 16, strong shoulders, guarded eyes, a boy who learned too young that the world doesn't slow down for broken homes. His mother worked double shifts. His father was a memory wrapped in disappointment. Marcus grew up surrounded by noise, arguments, sirens, expectations. But inside him lived rhythm. He didn't sing, he moved. Music lived in his legs, his arms, the way he leaned into pain and turned it into motion. He danced in abandoned lots, in narrow hallways, in places where no one would laugh. When people saw him dance, they said things like, "That's not for boys," or, "It won't pay the bills." Marcus smiled and nodded, then danced harder. Dancing was the only time his mind felt quiet. The only time his anger softened into something beautiful. Neither Ava nor Marcus knew about each other. Yet fate had been listening to both. The audition was a mistake. Or at least it felt like one. Ava's application was submitted late. Marcus almost didn't show up at all. But here they were. A staff member walked past, checking names, schedules, nerves. "Duet," she said suddenly, stopping in front of them. Ava looked up. I'm a singer." Marcus frowned. "I'm a dancer." The woman smiled like this was the most normal thing in the world. Perfect. Panic hit at the same time. They hadn't rehearsed. They hadn't met. They didn't even know the music. Ava's hands started shaking. Marcus clenched his jaw. The curtain began to rise. Lights flooded the stage. The audience blurred into a sea of shadows. Ava took a breath so deep it hurt. Marcus closed his eyes for half a second. The music started. A single piano note. Ava lifted the microphone. Her voice came out fragile at first, like a secret she wasn't sure she should share. It trembled, not from lack of skill, but from honesty. Marcus stepped forward slowly, each movement cautious, respectful. As if he was listening, not just dancing. Ava sang about being unseen. About feeling like a shadow in her own life. About loving something so deeply it scared her. Her voice cracked, not enough to ruin the song. Enough to make it real. Marcus felt it. His body responded before his mind did. His movements softened, curved, reached. He danced like he was catching falling words and holding them gently. The audience leaned forward. Phones stayed down. Something sacred was happening. Ava forgot where she was. She sang louder, stronger. She sang like the little girl who cried herself to sleep finally had permission to be heard. Marcus jumped, spun, fell, and rose again. Every movement told a story of struggle, of pressure, of never being enough, but trying anyway. Their timing wasn't perfect. Their performance wasn't polished, but it was alive. The music built. Ava's voice soared. Marcus leapt, and in that moment, something broke open in the room. People felt their own memories surface. Their own forgotten dreams. Their own moments of being told, no. When the final note faded, silence filled the air. Not empty silence, full silence. Then applause crashed like a wave. People stood. Some cried. Some didn't even realize they were clapping. Ava's knees almost gave out. Marcus stared at the floor, tears dripping before he could stop them. Backstage, neither spoke at first. Finally, Ava whispered, "I was scared." Marcus nodded. "Me too." That performance aired weeks later. And the world felt it. The video spread faster than anyone expected. Millions watched. Millions felt seen. Comments flooded in from places Ava and Marcus had never heard of. "I needed this. This saved me. They reminded me why I used to dream." Ava received messages from girls who had stopped singing. Marcus heard from boys who had been told dancing made them weak. They didn't win first place. But they won something bigger. Belief. Months later, Ava stood in a small studio recording her first song. Marcus choreographed his first full performance. Sometimes they worked together, sometimes apart, but they never forgot the moment two broken paths crossed on one stage. And somewhere, in quiet rooms and noisy streets, other kids started singing again. Started dancing again. Started believing again.